Just going to go through the ratio and rates prep test. We've already done the first 2 pages in class, but I'm going to quickly go over them again. So the ratio of chairs to tables, chairs has to be first, is 3 is to 2. Right. Rates compare quantities in different units. So a rate, the units have to be different. The ratio compares things with the same units. Can you write that on your thing? So Stella ran 400 metres in 1 minute. Metres and minutes are different units, so that's a rate. Or that's like a speed, 400 metres in 1 minute. So that one's a rate because the units are different. But Alana scored twice the number of goals than Natalie. They've both scored goals, so that we're comparing the same sorts of things. So that's a ratio. Okay? Now the next one. The ratio of boys to girls in a team is 5 to 4. Because it's boys to girls and it's 5 to 4, I'm going to put boys on the first one, girls on the second one. So for every how many girls?
5 girls.
No, girls. For every 4 girls, there are 5 boys. What's the ratio of boys to total? I don't have a total column. I'm going to put 1. 5 plus 4 is 9. So boys is 5. Total is 9. And the fraction of the team that are girls. There are 4 out of 9. So it's 4/9. The next one. This is really good to practice again. Girls, we're simplifying or finding equivalent ratios. Now, we've got 4 and 12. We have to think what times tables are 4 and 12 both in. Well, they've given you a hint. They've said you can divide them both by 4. They're both in the 4 times tables. So 4 divided by 4 is 1, and I have to do 12 divided by 4 as well. So how many 4s go into 12? Let's count. 4, 8, 12. What's the answer? 3. Now, girls, in this next one, we're starting with smaller numbers, 2 and 5, and ending up with larger numbers. So we say, how do we get from the 5 to the 3? So always when you're finding equivalent ratios, if the number's getting bigger, you're multiplying. So 5 times 3 is 15. You must do the same thing on the other arrow. 2 times 3 is 6. Now, the last one, we don't give you any guidance. We just say that the 20 is becoming a 4. So it's getting smaller. So are you multiplying or dividing to end up with a smaller? So we're dividing by 5 because... yeah, these are all in the 5 times tables. 20, 35 and 15 are all in the 5 times tables. Yes, we think what times tables are 20, 35 and 15 all in? Numbers that end in 0 and 5, you're counting up by 5s. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. I'm going to write them here. 5, 10, 15, 20. 25, 30, 35, 40. Which number is, so 5, 10, 15. 15 divided by 5 is what? It's the third number. 20, 5, 10, 15, 20 is the fourth number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 35 is the 7th number because 7 times 5 is 35. Okay, over the page. When we simplify ratios, the units need to be the same. Now, I've got days and weeks. I know that 2 weeks is longer than 5 days. Okay, so what I need to do, that's the same as saying 5 days is 2. I need to change the weeks into days. 2 weeks is how many days? Yeah, 1 week is 7 days. 2 weeks is 2 times 7, 14 days. Now that the units are the same, I can just say, cross off these, the ratio is 5 is to 14. All right? Now the next one, $1.75 is to 50 cents. They're both not in the same units and they need to be the same units. How do you make up $1.75? What have you got? In cents. What's $1 in cents? 100 cents. And what else? And how many cents is 0.75 is how many cents? $0.75 is, because how many cents do I have? If $1 is 100 cents, $2 is 200 cents. Yeah, I have 175 cents. Does that make sense? So girls, I need to put them in the same units. 175 cents is to 50 cents. Now, if you have a calculator, you can just do 175 ABC 50. Or what number goes into both 175 and 50? Girls, when you're counting up like that, no, 175 ABC 50, or girls, start counting up by, see how you've got 5 and 50? With money, girls, when you're counting money, you're either going to count up by 20s, 20 cents, 40 cents, 60 cents, 80 cents, a dollar, or you're going to count up by 25. 25, 50, keep counting, 75, 100, 125, 150, 175. So that 7 is to 2. Girls, when we've got ratios, we always need whole numbers. Now, this is going to be like our recipe. A half is to 3. Girls, I don't want any halves. I need wholes. I need whole numbers. Instead of teaching, girls, how am I going to make a half into a whole? How am I going to make a half into a whole? I don't want ratios with halves. What's a half plus another half? 1 whole. So why don't I do the ratio again? A half is to 3. A half is to 3. What's my total here? A half and a half. What's a half and a half? 1. And what's 3 and 3? So if you've got half a cup of this to 3 cups of that, half a cup of the first one to 3 cups, you've really got 1 cup of the first thing, and how many cups of the second one? 6. So a half is to 3 is the same as 1 is to 6. Now, the reason we do it is a half and another half is 1 whole. So 3 and 3 is 6. What we're really doing here is multiplying by 2, because 2 halves, if I say to you 5 plus 5 is 10, that's the same as 5 times 2 is 10. So 3, a half and another half makes 1, 3 and 3 makes 6. What I've really done is multiplied. I've done 2 halves and 2 3s. And then I end up with whole numbers. The whole idea of ratios is that you get whole numbers. Now, girls, the last one, I don't have whole numbers. 0.3. Do you remember what we do? That's a decimal. You can times it by 10. You can make this 10 times bigger and make the other one 10 times bigger. When you multiply by 10, you move the decimal place, it gets 10 times bigger. So 0.3, something 10 times bigger, is 3. You move the decimal point 1 place to the right. What's something 10 times bigger than 2? What's 2 times 10? So what I've done here is times it by 10. I'm going to times this one by 10. What's 2 times 10?
3 decimal points 20.
20. Yeah. So 0.3 times 10, I want it to make it bigger. I don't want less than 1. I need to be a whole number. So times that by 10 and times this one by 10. Now, dividing 40 in the ratio of 2 to 3, we're going to use our table method. The ratio is 2 to 3. Do you remember what we do now? What's the total? What's 2 plus 3?
5.
Now, divide $40 in that ratio. Where do I put the 40? Then I say to myself, how do I get from 5 to 40? Using times tables only, it's times 8. So with all the others, I times 8 and I times 8. 2 times 8, 16. 3 times 8, 24. We did do this last lesson, but we'll just go over it again. 5 centimetres on a scale. We spoke about this last lesson. You might look at Google Maps. 5 centimetres would be about right, what you might see on the map. So 5 centimetres on your Google map is a real distance of 1 kilometre. So we're trying to work out how many times bigger the real street is or distance is compared to what's on your map. So 5 centimetres is to 1 kilometre. See, girls, the units are different. Centimetres and kilometres. I need to make them the same. The word kilo means 1,000. So 5 centimetres, I'm going to rewrite 1 kilometre as 1,000 metres. So that's 5 centimetres is to 1,000 metres. So girls, kilo means 1,000. Now, Centimetre, a centi is 100th of a metre, 1 centimetre, but we know that there are 100 centimetres in every 1 metre, just like there's 100 cents in a dollar. So if I've got 1,000 metres, metres are pretty big, about the size of my desk. Centimetres are the small things on your ruler, and lots of centimetres make up a metre. 100 centimetres make a metre. So if I've got 1,000 metres, see how I've got 1 metre here, 100 centimetres there? How do I go from metres to centimetres? Am I going to have more centimetres? I'm going to add how many zeros here, or times it by what?
Oh no, 10,000.
How many more zeros?
5. 4.
I've got 3 zeros for the metres. When I go to centimetres,
5.
I'm going to put another 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zeros. Well, I need to times this by 100. Because it's a whole number, I can just add zeros on the end. You're not allowed to add zeros but to decimals. All right? Now, are the units the same? 5 centimetres is to 100,000 centimetres? Yep. Cross off the units. How do I go from 5 to 1, girls? You're only not with subtracting, multiplying or dividing. How do I go from 5 to 1?
5 centimetres.
5 divided by what is 1?
Divided by 5.
So we do 100,000 divided by 5.
Yeah.
You'll need your calculator. 100,000. What's 100 divided by 5? What's 100 divided by 5? Girls? 20. 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. So I've got 20. If I say 100 apples divided by 5, that's 20 apples. 100 elephants divided by 5, that's 20 elephants. 100,000 divided by 5, that's 20,000. 20,000. Okay? So 1 is to 20,000. That one's a bit tricky. Over the page, girls. All right. Rain. It rained 80 millimetres in 4 days. Simplify the rate. How many millimetres per day? When I go per day, how many days am I asking about? 1 day, 10 days, 5 days? No. I've given you 80 millimetres in 4 days. If I say how many millimetres per day, per how many days? What about kilometres per hour? Per 1 day?
20.
Yes. If it rains 80 millimetres in 4 days, I want to know about 1 day. Girls, we don't add, we don't subtract. When you're doing ratios, you're really just going to multiply or divide. 80 millimetres in 4 days, obviously less millimetres in 1 day. See, the first day you got some rain, and then the second day more. Third day more, fourth day more. Average, how do you go from 4 to 1? You divide by 4. 80 divided by 4 is 20. So your answer here is 20 millimetres per day. Okay? Now, you go to the shops. And we don't, we do try and tell them, can I have 5 kilos? But they always give you more or give you less. No one can weigh exactly 5 kilos for you. Otherwise it just takes too long. And it cost us $23.85 for 5.3 kilograms. How much per kilo means per 1 kilo? If 5.3 kilograms cost that, what do you think you're going to do, girls? Multiply, divide, what are you going to do? No. All right. Yes, divide. So you divide by 5.3. So we're going to divide by 5.3. Because 5.3 divided by 5.3 will give me 1. So girls, whenever you're trying to simplify the rates, you think it's 23.85 for 5. Let's say it was 5 kilos. You divide by 5. Just because it's a decimal doesn't mean you use a different method. We divide by 5.3. Someone's going to need their calculator to divide by 5.3. What do we get? What's 23.85 divided by 5.3? Is that what you're getting? 4.5, $4.50. Always money's got 2 decimal places. So we're getting 4.5, which is $4.50. Okay, girls, the next one. Complete the equivalent rates. 40 mils per minute means 40 mils in 1 minute. So let's say, girls, you're pouring something or something's dripping, a tap's dripping. 40, like it's dripping a lot. We're getting 40 mils in a minute. How much would you get in 2 minutes?
80 mils.
All right, 3 minutes. What are we doing, multiplying or dividing? How much in 5 minutes? I need the 40 and the 40 and another 40 and another 40 and another 40 to give me 5 minutes. Does that? So no, what am I going to times by? 5. See, in 1 minute I get 40 mils. In 2 minutes I'm going to get 80 mils. In 5 minutes, well, I need to do this 5 times. What's 40 times 5? 40 times 5. What's 4 times 5? 4 times 5.
4 times 5 is 20.
All right, what do you think 40 times 5 is? 200. Girls, you've got calculators as well. 40, 80. I'm adding 40s. 40 lots, 5 lots of 40. 40, 80. Girls, what's 10 times 40?
120 is there.
All right, that's the hard way. What's 10 times 40?
Is 40.
400.
400.
Isn't, so 5 times 40 would be half of the 400. Isn't 5 half of 10? So if 10 times 40 is 400, 5 times 40 is 200. All right, and the last one, girls, you should all get this, otherwise don't go and work. $10.30 for 1 hour at McDonald's. What are you going to get for 2 hours? 2 hours. I know the question says 3.5 hours. Let's just work our way there. You get $10.30 for 1 hour work. 2 hours, what would you do with that number? What would you do with the number? $30 for 1 hour work. How much do you get for 2 hours? What would you do to the number?
Times it.
Do you think you're going to get more money than $10.30? You're going to get $10.30 for the first hour, $10.30 for the next hour, $10.30 for the next hour.
They would never pay you that much at Macca's.
Oh, I think I looked it up.
Yeah, they do. I'm getting a job there.
I looked it up. That's how much they're getting. Times 3.5 times 3.5.
So we get like $20 because we like only have
Well, $20 would be for 2 hours. So can you times it by 3.5, please? 3.5 means 3.5. What's 10.3? $10.30 times 3.5. What do we get? $36 and 0.05.